Hello.
Hi, Will.
You do.
All right. Oh, you look like you're here.
I am here. Last day of the CU PhD project, so finishing up some
Wow.
things.
Do you feel wrapped up?
No, only because we're doing like um a final check of all the data. So like the logbooks, transcriptions, and things like that. So we're going through that just to make sure it's okay for like a to be properly archived and possibly, I think they want to use it for some other work. So just want to make sure it's all tidied up for the next step. So that's what we're working on slowly. But we're not going to finish that part today, which is I think that's okay. But we'll get a chunk of it, and then I'm also going to do our equipment inventory just to make sure that's all done, sorted. I wasn't very motivated to do it yesterday, so I'm doing it on the last day of Friday.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
It must be kind of a good feeling. Like you sound like you
Oh,
have some, at least you have all the things that need to be done kind of in your head. Whereas usually for me, when a project ends, I'm like, like it is so not done.
yeah.
I'm just now
It's
getting paid.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like one of those things where I'm not like, I don't really have any feeling about it, I should say, since it's the first, it is like the end of the first project I did that I started. But I'm also, it's kind of like, I'm just rolling right into the next thing. So it's not as momentous, maybe, to me at the moment.
Yeah.
Other than I came here, I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. And then I finished it. So,
Yeah, that's I still have that feeling like every day. I had a colleague when I was at Illinois who right next to my office, and he would always say, I was born for this. And I'm like, oh my God, I was not born for this. Hi, Christian. Happy Friday. I'm going to take a minute while I'm thinking about it to extend our meeting series. Yeah, wait a minute. Oh, I hope this works. Sometimes when I work with the calendar, it does not work. Send, recipient, send. Okay. Oh, Marilee, hello. I haven't seen you in a while. Oh, look at all our fun people. Yay. Okay, I just attempted to send an update of our meeting series through the summer. I don't know if it worked. You might want to check and see if it did. Now I'm getting all these emails saying that they've been accepted. I was accepted. Oh my gosh, I needed to, how do I turn this thing off? Okay, cool. Cool. Hello, everybody. I am recording this at Lori's request. Um, And Lori's here. It's wonderful. Okay. I'm going to do a project overview today. This was one of the things that was brought up quite some time ago by the researchers who were new to the team, but now we have Pi and we have Miranda. Miranda, would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Sure, yes. So I just finished sophomore year. I study at Carnegie Mellon University, but I'm from Colorado, so I'm very familiar with the area. And I actually worked here last summer, not on this project, but in the powerhouse.
And Miranda's going to be working with Misa and seeing if the filter smoke particles in the same way that they filter salt particles. So it's going to be a little bit of a long process as we learn how to generate smoke aerosol, store it, and put it into the duct. And Miranda, there's a lot of people here whom you don't know, but you're going to be able to meet them through the project overview because I'm going to be sort of telling you what they do. So I'm not going to do a round of introductions. Frequently, we have a little getting to know you exercise, and that'll come later in the project, maybe in a different week. I wanted to start off with, we've got nothing on the calendar for the summer, and I know we have a lot of work, especially spinning up the field project. So I wanted to get people to, one, get on the calendar, or if there are things you think we need to discuss as a team, just be able to put them on dates. I'm gonna share my screen so you can see the calendar, or maybe the best thing to do is for me to put the calendar link in the chat, which I am doing right now. Come on, chat. Okay, so first thing, put your availability on here. And then second thing, if you want to have a discussion, please put it on the calendar. One of the things that prevents me from getting calendar invitations out or reminders of the meetings out early in the week is if there's a blank spot, I look at it and I go, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I got to fill it in. And so then it takes a long time to put it out. And sometimes they don't come out till Thursday. Sometimes that happens anyway. So it does help me a lot if you put things on here. And here I'll and you can just shout out now if you're shy about putting something on. You might say when you foresee needing something. And we can also talk about this as I go through the overview, because I'm going to ask each person to react, and then you can say, and I might want to discuss this with the team at a certain point. So I'm not hearing anything. I know Misa is out. He had an unexpected thing to be away for, and I'm not sure where Dom is. I can't remember if this was one of his off days. Dom will be wrapping up his degree sometime soon. Okay, so nobody's speaking up to take meetings.
So you're saying this is a time to add like a topic?
Yeah, that you want to talk about.
I got one. But
what is it?
Well, and this is something Dr. Laurent and I have been talking about, but there's just some possibilities on how we install our blower and where we install it. And there's no bad ideas, but there's some issues with like preconditioning the air if it's really hot outside, or warming it up, cooling it down. Anyway, there's a lot to think about, and just kind of something that we can brainstorm.
And what's your time frame on it, Jordan? Is it like better sooner or not ready to talk about it yet?
Well, I would say at the end of July, it should be relevant because we're going to be thinking about installs. The system is going to be designed and it's going to kind of be ready for its first test runs.
Yeah, I put it at the end of June. I think we have a smaller group tag up here in a week or two to talk about a few things, but I think sooner rather than
Okay,
later
and
would be great.
what do you want to call that? Like blower?
House integration.
And is that an online thing or you want to do it in the lab or does it matter?
I think online is probably fine. That's a starting point. We'll see how the good work Jordan is doing, where we get to here in the next week or two. Maybe we'll be ready for in person. I think online's fine.
So June 28th, does that look good?
Sounds great.
Paul, you might be at Ashbury then.
Won't be at Ashray, but I'm going to be I'm going to have boarded. I'm going to be boarding a plane like halfway through the call.
Okay, well, we'll get your input at the beginning.
Put down that I'm out, but I can join for the beginning from the airport. I should be able to, I think.
You put out flying. That's good enough for me. I think a lot of people are out July 4th week. And then indoor air is the next week. So those two may be questionable. And then I want to remind people, well, you probably don't know, but the work that Miranda's doing over the summer, she'll be presenting in a poster at Powerhouse on the 1st of August. So make time to attend that poster session. 1st August afternoon, Powerhouse classroom. And I don't know exactly what time it is yet. Okay, next 3 weeks, some thoughts. Eric, I'm curious about what you all are doing with the what you're spinning up with Pi, and I know he hasn't been here very long, but I'm wondering if we should maybe just have an open discussion about the types of things that you might be thinking.
I owe them some hardware that I'm hoping to send them today, depending on how this afternoon goes. So I may have been the pinch point on some of their things. Sorry about that.
I appreciate that, Christian. You know, not necessarily too much of a challenge though. We've been brainstorming, yeah, what sort of information the display could have, and I've been looking at some literature. So yeah, we could put something on maybe a little bit later would be the preference, just because it'd be good to actually have the hardware and see what the actual interface is to make some realistic mock-ups.
So how about 19th? At that time, I will be, oh, Marilee says out. I should be here, but remote. Okay, that still leaves us with 3 weeks this month to work together.
I will speak up for Carson, who's not on right now, but we can provide a little update on where we're at with the data logging pieces. This will go into some of the interface pieces, but some of our latest thoughts on data needs and accessing the data and what we have on our roadmap for logging. So,
You want to pick a day for that, Christian?
Whatever not next Friday is. I'll give him one more than that. I would say, how about the 14th?
Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to be out that day. I can, y'all can record it though, and I can watch maybe.
I can do the 21st too, if it's better.
Yeah, and I'm really out. Christian, does, that puts you in, you 2 weeks in a row. Is that comfortable for you?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
I think Jordan will be the lead on one and Carson the other, so I don't
Hmm.
have heavy lift for either. Thank you, though.
Well,
Oh.
I don't know if this is a decent idea or not, but you know, we've talked in the past about how to get our work out, whether it's conferences or papers. It's been a while since we've done that, and I wonder whether with us having gotten further down the path, plus recognizing that some things are like HPC's abstracts for next year are going to be coming right up. I wonder if we want to take some time, maybe on sometime soon, to discuss conferences and or papers that we really want to start getting cranking on. Because I also know it's easy to not get to the papers because we're doing other things, but maybe we should start writing up some of our work.
Okay. So I agree with you. I've been thinking about the HPC and how we just kind of missed it last year because I didn't realize its deadline was so early. I think Paul has also expressed that it's a good idea, it's enticing for people to go. And so, we sort of had a call about that, but we might want to talk about that. Paul, is that something you do recommend like earlier in the summer, like I don't know, 7th, 14th, something like that, or I don't remember when you're out.
7th, I can probably make it on the 7th. It's not absolutely positive. 14th, I can likely make it. So, yeah, I'm happy to have it scheduled for either one. And if it's the 7th, then I'll just make sure that I arrange things to be available.
Okay, so let me put you on the 14th. And Paul, you've I think also expressed that HPC is a session type of thing, so that's something we may want to talk about. Okay, great. We still
Yeah.
don't have anything for next week. I am not signing up for next week because I'm on deadline until the 10th. And also I had to make this thing for today, so. Anyone have a conference presentation that we should know about that they can just run through? Pi, have you given a conference presentation about your work in vehicles that you would be able to share with us? I think you're,
Yeah, I think your audio isn't working.
yeah, you're disconnected.
That's a convenient way not to have to present.
Well, I'm going to encourage you to do that. So you may not be answering and we may not put you on for next week, which is a pretty quick turnaround. But I think it's really good when people bring things that they've done before so we're aware of what kind of skills are in the group. Okay, well, I'm floating next week because I want to get on and not delay the overview too long. But if you would like to present next week, please let me know. So, okay, this will be not new to some of you, but it's there have been many new people who are not familiar with all the pieces of the project. So I'm going to do this overview again, and then when I get to your part, I'm going to ask you to say a couple of words. So this is an overview of the project. Here's our context. We know that air pollution, especially PM 2.5 or particles with diameters smaller than 2.5 microns, is one of the greatest environmental risks. So what people do is they add up how many what they call disability adjusted life years are lost to different risks. And then they kind of rank them with like how many people are dying prematurely due to different risks. And if you do that, it turns out that pretty much the biggest environmental risk in the United States, and a significant one globally, comes from air pollution, and especially PM 2.5 through cardiovascular and other effects. So we have PM 2.5 outdoors. Sources of PM 2.5 have been decreasing, the traditional sources. So vehicles are getting cleaned up, industries getting cleaned up, the regulations are getting tighter. And so you can actually see in EPA data that particulate matter is decreasing slowly over time. But what is happening is that wildfires are increasing as climate changes and gets warmer, and the interiors of continents get drier. And so there are more wildfires than there used to be. And this seems to be increasing and is predicted by wildfire models to increase as climate change occurs. And so what's happening is we're transitioning from pollution sources that we could control and do something about to ones that we can't really control. This is not to say that we shouldn't try to do something about wildfires, but in the meantime, we're breathing the smoke. So also the home, the residential environment, is an important domain to look at. So if you look at what most people call epidemiology, which is where you look at how ill people are and then what that's related to, and look for statistical relationships, you can see that illness is related with outdoor PM 2.5 concentrations. But people are most of the time in their homes. And so they must be getting exposed in some way to outdoor air inside. And people spend 90% of the time indoors, and a lot of that is at home. So outdoor air that's found inside must be important. And we understand generally, like, yes, it travels inside, but not specifically how this happens. I also want to say that there are people on this call like Christian and Paul who are more expert on this than me. And so if I say anything wrong or you want to add anything for context, please feel free to jump in. So given that context, the goals of this project, I put these together. They're not actually in the proposal this way. And so I'm slightly embarrassed maybe that the proposal wasn't well written, but these are the goals as I see them. First, protect occupants of homes from polluted outdoor air by developing some of the principles relevant to home air management. If you think about it, the air in your home isn't really managed. It just kind of happens. You might have a fan in your bathroom or kitchen that you use to manage the air a bit, but for the most part, that air is traveling into and out of your home because of natural forces. It's not managed. This is somewhat different than happens in commercial buildings. Okay, so that's one of them, and you will see some of these principles in the rest of this presentation. Okay, develop the practice of systemic intervention by acknowledging how a lot of things work together to influence exposure. And I'll say more about this soon, but it's a combination of human behavior, built environment, and what's outside. And then prepare for delivering health-focused interventions through a national network. And that network is currently the people that know how to deliver energy efficiency interventions. There's a contractor workforce that is focused on this, but health is not their job. And yet they have the types of skills that can be used to change homes so they can be healthier. So let me say a little more about that systemic intervention. We did define this in the proposal as a comprehensive technological package that matches a likely user behavior to achieve an effective outcome, and that can be delivered through existing provisioning systems. So all of these words have meanings. Effectiveness I'll talk about shortly. provisioning systems means we have ideas of how to deliver it. We're not just thinking this is a great technology. I wish that somebody would put it in their home. In this case, the outcome is indoor concentrations of pollutants. So what we want to do is deliver lower concentrations of pollutants effectively. Technology in this project is a tool. So it says technological package. And sometimes there's a lot of engineers on this project, and sometimes people hone in on that. Ooh, let's do some technology. Technology is a tool. It is not a predetermined outcome. I shouldn't use the word outcome here because I've just defined it above, and I mean it's something differently here. But what I mean by saying this is that I don't assume that whatever technology we developed is necessarily what's going to go in. It's a tool to play into possible effectiveness. So the difference between efficacy and effectiveness and as defined in the health field, and I've translated it to technology here. Efficacy is used to describe the performance of technology under controlled situations. Effectiveness is the overall outcome in a real world context. And that means it's installed in different environments with different users and installed by different technicians. So something can have efficacy in a laboratory setting, and once you put it in the real world, it doesn't have the same reduction of pollutants. The outcomes are not the same. There's a few components of the technology, and these are introduced. This is figure from the proposal. That's why it's got little yellow flags that you don't know what they mean. Some of the components of the technology that we could test in the lab and are testing in the lab are detection for situations when the hazard might occur, forecasting, determining the appropriate action, treating the physical environment. And you'll see all of these appear. But that is not enough. This is mostly what we've been working on to date, but it's not enough. So the proposal put the engineered system in context and recognized that the users, the little brown clouds, were part of the system. So they have that users have trust and confidence or lack of trust and confidence that affects how they behave. They have resource limitations in terms of time and money, and they may have different motivations and priorities and preferences. Then the system is not just the technology, but it's the technology you buy, the investment, how you maintain it, and how you use it. And finally, there's a systemic approach or a systemic view that says the technology is actually functioning in a bigger societal environment. And so it depends not only on the technology itself and how it's used, but how it's installed and whether the user can support that. And that's the biggest, broadest view of this. So now I'm going to break down the system. It includes, and the system is the thing that sets the concentrations inside your home. So it includes, sorry, too much animation. It includes the built environment, your house, right? You can't just put a technology in a house and not pay attention to how they work together. The technology includes mechanical and information systems, but the system also includes the occupants, right? The whole thing is built for the occupants. Oops. The system also includes changing outdoor pollutant concentrations and changing weather. And the system includes all the things that need to be done to bring and maintain the system as functioning, including installers and education and so on. So the effectiveness is determined by all these things. The bits that we're working on in this project, I've given names and colors and icons, and I'm going to walk through these next so you can see what everybody is doing. I'm going to stop and see if anyone has questions. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this green, uh, this green bit, suitability. And it's the interaction between users who respond to the natural environment, who act on technology, and whose actions influence the built environment. Suitability means not just does the thing work, but does it work for this user in this context? What we have out right now is a survey for weatherization clients that was developed by a former postdoc, Paige Amboard, and in context with, or in conjunction with Erica and Marilee. And that survey is how do occupant priorities affect their attention to using technology? As Erica and Pi spin up their work, they're going to be addressing more objective measures of what people are doing and how they are responding. And so they're looking at the user part, but also identifying how users, Erica, you could say this better than me. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the survey we developed is just kind of to understand initial perceptions and motivations of people. Like, why do they even want to improve their indoor air quality? Are their like perceptions correct? Are they incorrect? Or do people think that there's ways to improve their air quality that are like, not actually helping? Or are they aligned? Is it, motivated by health issues of, family members in the household, et cetera. And so it's more general front end, what even gets people to start thinking about indoor air quality. And then also understanding some of the maintenance aspects that Tammy was talking about. So what are their maintenance behaviors on other systems that require maintenance and what motivates those, so that we could leverage that to encourage people to maintain an indoor air quality system in their house. And then, yeah, pivoting to the objective measures for the in-home study, we're doing two parts. One is thinking about the in-home display that they have. What information should they have that gets them to trust the system is working, it's making a difference on their life, that they should continue to maintain it as it needs to be maintained, and maybe encourage other people that they know, to go make the investment in that system. And then the other part of that is we're developing a couple of surveys to disseminate throughout the in-home study to kind of get more at how they perceive the system to be working in their house. I think that covers what you were hoping for.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, it's what you're hoping for too. For those who don't know, Erica and Pi have a background in what's called human factors, which shows up in driver behavior, for example, and how drivers respond to the information that's given to them while they're driving, and they're bringing those skills to the home environment. Okay, and then Christian and Carson, I'll let you speak. So this is so you've got two pieces, just so you're warned, anticipation and diagnostics. And the first one is this question of, can we identify when high concentrations may occur? So this is interaction between the natural environment, technology, and the built environment.
Sure, I can give a quick update there. So the part of the rationale for this is the status quo of how we provide feedback to the general population as air pollution folks is, we're in a bad situation, start filtering your air with very little guidance on doing it early or when to stop or right sizing the solution. So Carson and I have been working on some kind of algorithm scripts that are processing air pollution in real time, looking for the leading edge of when air pollution events occur. The big dial there for us to adjust is how early we say an event is occurring versus how much risk we're willing to accept that we'll get that wrong. We can predict early with a high probability or a higher probability of getting it wrong. Or we can start to do intervention a bit later when we have really high confidence, but we may have missed the leading edge of some of the air pollution. So we're at a point right now of that's working pretty well. It's running out in the coal hopper and the roof of the third floor of the powerhouse. And we've settled on the majority of the time, we only need a minute or two of the rising edge to be occurring for us to detect it, that we don't actually gain that much that often, being more aggressive in when that anticipation occurs. There's some things that we're working on maybe down the line in terms of can we predict from somebody's neighbor's home, across town or across the city. But that's probably going to get sidelined for now, at least for the Sapphires project, as it's not critical path to be other things going on right now.
Cool. And then I think part of that includes user feedback like Erica was talking about. So if risky events do occur, begin to occur, what's the best thing to tell the occupants? Do you tell them? Do they want to know? Do they want to switch their own filter? So do you want to say any more about that?
Sure, yeah. Some of this is a balancing act between, the role of the intervention versus the rights of the household owner in some ways. Like, we may be able to do a lot to provide protection, but that does not mean that's what the household user wants. And so part of what we're working on, and a lot of this will go into the user interface piece with the other kind of team members, is how do we convey that information back? How do we allow users to override what we think is the right judgment? And I think we've settled on, just from kind of an ethical standpoint, that at least right now, we'll always tell them that we're intervening. But I do think there's a play, maybe in some cases, for it to all be happening silently in the background. Based on how the technology is going to be implemented, I think in this study, I think we need to give them a heads up. Somewhere for them to check that is actively happening as opposed to it silently being in the background, because our intervention won't be silent. They likely will hear the fans running. So I think we'll need that feedback directly to that. Erica, Faye, and I had a call a week or two ago. We talked about a couple different ideas, but I think the next step there is me getting the hardware in their hands so they can see what we have right now and provides from there.
Cool. And then, right, so then there's this diagnostic component. If you know what's going on in the natural environment, the outdoor concentrations and the weather conditions that are driving indoor-outdoor airflow, if you have some sense of what the users are doing, and if you know what the technology is doing, can you predict what the airflow would be? And can you do this on a minute-to-minute basis? And because that's the level on which at which we need to ask for the intervention. So broadly, people predict, like, over a season, the indoor-outdoor exchange was so much at this home, but people are not doing this on a minute-to-minute basis. I think 15 minutes is our goal. So we've put a lot of time and measurement into this, measuring real homes, first my home, and then a lot of the epic homes that are that Ellison Carter has interfaced with through the city of Fort Collins. They had already done measurements in those homes and taken air quality measurements, and then we over the last winter we added some. And so let's see, we're measuring. The basic idea is we measure pressure across the envelope. It's a very simple measurement. That surprisingly, we don't have a lot of data on that type of measurement. And so Dominic Bledsoe is working on his master's thesis right now that is attempting to explain some of the variation we see. And he's deep in trying to understand wind pressures on building faces. I put Danny in red here. This is the first time probably that I'm going to tell you that Danny Rodriguez is going to take Dom's place after well, nobody can take Dom's place, but after he graduates with a master's degree, Danny is going to become the data guy on the homes as we go into the field campaign. And he's going to be a PhD student in my group. So I was hoping he could be on today. He might start a little earlier than the fall, but he is coming to be a student in the fall. Then Miranda, here's where you fit in. In terms of protection, how do you build a physical intervention that can change concentrations inside the home? So you may have anticipated that there's going to be an event. You may be able to understand how the built environment functions. Okay, so what do you do? And so that's, we're testing that in the house of pressure that you can see in the downstairs lab. And people are running filter tests. And Jordan, I believe you're the interface between how those filters are installed in the home and Christian's work. And I'll let both Paul and Jordan talk a little bit about that.
Or so the basic idea of the technology is that if we can pressurize the home to the point where all of the air coming into the home is first coming through our system, then we're not letting outside air come through all the little holes that are all throughout the house. It's all coming through our system, which gives us a chance to filter it, clean it, and provide clean air. So you don't get bad air coming in any place. We're only putting in clean air, and now people are protected regardless of how bad outside is. There are some key features. One is, how good of a filter do you need to be able to sufficiently clean the air? And then what kind of time frame would the filter need to be changed? Because eventually it will clog and not let the amount of air go through required to pressurize the house. So Misa's been doing a lot of tests with the salt derived particles. He's been doing a lot of tests, and we found that we really need to use HEPA filters, which are fairly pricey, but they're doing the job. And the ones we've been using seem to be able to last a pretty good long time. But again, they're pricey and they're not easy to get. So that's a bit of a barrier to people using it. Miranda, what you're going to be working on a bit here is, if we, instead of using the salt, we use the smoke, can we use a different type of filter that would be less expensive and easier to get? So if the smoke, if the salt is doing the same thing as it would if the salt is a good representation of the smoke, then we're going to have to go with the system we got, but we don't know that yet.
Cool. Okay. And then there's this delivery question. So now we've talked about how a lot of things work together. Now, how do we get them out in the field? And this one is a little bit of a farther step, and it's really just a preparatory step. Let's teach assessors the principles of home air management so they can suggest to residents that they can participate in a program for healthier homes. And so the step from here, from developing technology or principles of intervention to having it deployed on a massive nationwide scale is pretty far, but we thought we would begin by introducing this idea of home air management and sources of indoor pollution in training for people who regularly go out to homes to assess them for energy efficiency measures. Are you on, Lori? Do you want to say a little bit about this?
Well, since this is sort of a work in progress and we haven't really talked too much about it, basically at this point in time, we're just basically putting a bigger emphasis on the ventilation measure, as far as ventilation is one of the tenets of healthy homes. And so we'll be emphasizing contaminants via airflow in the home. And I don't think I've got too much more to say about that right now. You and I will be talking further about this in a couple of weeks.
Yes, we're going to fix.
How we will work that into healthy home curriculum for assessors and contractors, so that they're both aware, both parties are aware of this, and what they can do to help people to live better in their homes. So, no, I don't have a lot more to say about it, unfortunately, at this time.
Yeah, can you say something about the people that you train? I think a lot of people here don't know what assessors and contractors do, and about the training program that you're involved in.
Well, here we have a 10-week program teaching people that sometimes they're not your traditional students. They would be people you would be expecting to see perhaps in a blue collar. They are blue collar people that would be going to like community colleges, and that kind of thing. So these are more hands-on people in general. That's how they learn. And ours is a 10-week program. By the time they're done, we see these people as professionals. And they learn a lot of information all about the home. The home as a system is a very important concept. And healthy homes, of course, plays right into that. Air flow is a big part of that as well. So once they go through our program, they are out in the field. They get support from us for further training, because what you learn in the classroom and what's out there in the real world is usually completely different. So we are trying to support them in that way. And I don't know what else to say at this point.
Yeah, okay. And what you say about they're not traditional students, well, the students that we have at the university are not the ones who are doing this work. And so getting
Correct.
the information into a form that people like that are accustomed to learning is a step in itself, right? We can't present it in a scientific paper and hope that it's going to be taken up and that people are actually going to do that.
Right.
Lori,
They're intelligent people. They're just intelligent in different ways. They're not your typical academics.
well, they're intelligent in the way that they need to get stuff done in the house, which we're not. So I think that's perfect. Perfect lineup there. And then Lori's going to be bringing in an instructional designer who designs curriculum for students who will be doing continuing education. So that's how we're moving forward to getting this out there. Cool. Thanks, Lori. Oh, wait, I think I'm off. I'm off by, okay. Then this idea of systems, right? We're going to have a whole bunch of pieces. And how do you put them together? So we're each working with each other on putting things together. When I wrote the proposal, I thought we would need a postdoc who could integrate all these ideas and take some concepts about systemic intervention from the health field and apply them in the engineering field. And that's, I think, a whole different skill set. So Naomi Chung will start August 1st as a postdoc. She is coming out of Barb Turpin's group at UNC, so she has a technical background, but she also has a strong interest in systems and has done work on cook stoves in Native American situations, spent some time in the Peace Corps, so she's done a lot of looking. So that's going to be her role. So those are all the pieces. Now, we've been at this nearly 2 years. Our 2-year report is due, gosh, it might be the end of July, so that's a little scary. And we've been working through all of these pieces, the anticipation, the survey, the diagnostic, the whole house air treatment, all of those pieces are being developed and beginning to come together in pairs. In the last 2 years of the project, it's a 4-year project, we're hoping to demonstrate the integration. So we've been seeking a place to do a field test. It will have 16 homes over 16 weeks, and I probably should spend some time to share with the group the design of that. I think a lot of people saw it going into the proposal. It might be good for us to be reminded. So in that, all of these things are going to be put together. We're taking over the 16 weeks, we're going to flip on and off different modes within each house. It's going to be automated, or you're going to have to react. You're going to have a whole house air treatment, or you're going to have indoor air cleaner. And so that integration is going to be taking place in the field study. I'm expecting that's going to be a challenge for us to put together. Things are going to go well, things are going to go wrong. But it's time for all of it to come together. So the first 2 years, we were digging into the basics, and we're about to embark on this other project where we go into the field. And we're also going to be moving forward to deliver one set of contractor training, not on the technology, just on the principles of home air management, how pressure works, how indoor-outdoor exchange works, that kind of thing. So I think that is all. I'm going to leave the slideshow up for a little bit in case people want to ask questions about it. And you don't need to raise your hand. It's hard for me to see when the presentation is open. So just let me know if you have questions. Especially new people, if there are things where you think you ought to know what that is and you don't.
Can I ask a question really fast?
Yeah.
So I remember we talked about automating versus not automating. Do we know what the mix is? Like, are we gonna have like 4 people or 8 people that are automated and on whole house, and then 8 people what's that mix?
It goes back and forth, and that's
Okay.
why I'm thinking it would be a good idea to just talk through the design of that 16 weeks. Maybe that's what we'll do next week. And so the point is, like, each house gets 4 conditions and they're alternated, if that makes sense.
Okay, so it is completely within subject, so everyone experiences all 4 of those?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
At
got it.
different times.
Perfect. It wasn't clear to me how we ended up settling on that. So thanks, that makes sense.
I don't remember. It's been a while. I think it was a combination of believing that so each of these is 2 weeks long, and it was something about you really need 2 weeks to be able to see the variability. So you know what, if nothing comes up for next week, I'll bring that next week so we can talk through all the reasoning about that.
The only thing to add to this, Tammy, is I think in the NSF one, we dropped the whole house filtration for just portable. It's a small difference, but it is,
Did
I
we?
think. I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good time to talk through this as we prepare for the field experiment. Let's find out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the latest one. And we had portable air cleaners and whole house pressurization.
Yeah, and what are
Yeah.
you saying dropped?
Was that right?
What are you saying that we dropped?
Well, I don't think we're doing whole house filtration. But at one point you talked about whole house. filtration. I think we're doing portable air cleaners or whole house pressurization.
Oh, I don't think we were ever doing whole house filtration.
Well, maybe there was, I thought that's what you said when you were pulling up this slide. Maybe it was in the whole house air treatment.
I could
section.
have
Just wanted
used
to
the wrong word.
Just wanted to verify that because
Okay,
we, yeah. And we
Let's-
had been talking about that in the EPA one, so I just wanted to verify.
yeah, okay. I only remember two options in that direction, but I will check. Okay, anyone?
Feel like I should know this, but what do you mean by automation versus user action?
So one of the alternatives is the thing goes on by itself. So like the air cleaner or the whole house pressurization is triggered. And the user takes no action. And the other option is the user is alerted to turn it on.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'm gonna close then. And yeah, have a great weekend, anyone, if there's nothing else.
Good to see
And
everyone.
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.